Welcome to Leaving Nothing to Chance, your go-to podcast where we bring you insights from some of the most influential voices in small business and personal development. Each week, we dive deep into conversations with top thought leaders, authors, and business moguls from around the world, sharing their secrets to success and strategies for growth. Tune in for exclusive content that will inspire, motivate, and equip you to take your journey to the next level. This is Leaving Nothing to Chance.
Welcome to another segment, two segments actually. First segment right now of Ink and Insight. This is our Wednesday afternoons that, especially in the summertime when you get to curl up with a good book at the beach, but you can actually listen to myself and Rylin talk about her book. Once upon a time, I survived myself. And that's a very serious title, to say the least. Rylin Rossano, how are you?
I'm good. I'm talking to you, John, and I'm back.
And there's so much to this book. I read this book. I couldn't put it down, to be very honest with you.
Are you kidding me? That is
And,
the sweetest thing ever.
and it's not just because I feel like I've gotten to know you over these last couple of months, but it's compelling. And it's a story that needs to be told because I think it can help other people.
I agree. I think it is a survival guide, but also like a healing buddy that people should have on their journey of life, whatever they're going through, grief, loss, heartbreak, chronic illness, or just learning. I think it's really a companion you should consider having.
We're in the process of putting up the first video that we did, our regular podcast together, that people will meet you on, and then they'll meet you again shortly thereafter on Ink and Insight in August. And we're recording this in late July, but there's just so much to this. Let's just get started. At 15, you found yourself like no young person should, where you graduated high school, really not so much just because of your intellect, but the fact that you were struggling with a disease.
Yeah. And first of all, what was your reaction? Am I the only person you've ever met that graduated high school at 15?
No,
Okay.
no.
That makes me feel really good. I'm like, thank God, because usually I'm like the young Sheldon in the group. I'm like, ooh, it's a heavy title to have. I'm not gonna lie.
I love Young Sheldon, by the way. I did watch that whole series. That little guy's brilliant.
Great show. He's
Great little
genius.
actor.
He's genius. I'm like young Sheldon, but Barbie edition. Anyways, so yes, so I graduated high school at 15 for everyone listening. And I usually, when I tell people that, they're like, oh, so you're a genius. And I'm like, look, I'm very smart, but I did that. Usually I describe it as like a survival guide. It is what I needed to do because unfortunately I didn't really have any other options. And what I wrote about a lot in the book, and just really, I tell people all the time, it sucks when people take that. You're like, oh, I finished high school at 15. They're like, oh, so you think you're better than everyone else? Or, oh, you think, you missed prom, you missed this, you missed all these normal accomplishments that you would have had if you graduated high school at 18. And I'm like, there's so much more to that. And that's all you're taking out of that one sentence. And it really shows you. You never know what someone's dealing with. And you can't take one sentence and suddenly think, okay, I know this person so well. No, you have to read the book, literally. Not all of us write. Read the book or really give a person a minute to explain themselves, because if you just judge someone off that one sentence, you don't know you don't know that person, you don't know their story, you don't know what it took them to get there. So I did graduate high school at 15. However, I live in South Florida, which is funny because John's in Texas. So it's two hot climates and two blonde people. Anyways, it's perfect. But I live in South Florida and mold and mildew is abundantly present. So growing up, I had chronic asthma triggered by mold and mildew. So unfortunately, in the school system, it was everywhere because it rains, it's hot, it rains, and it creates mold and mildew, and you can't really escape it. And unfortunately, the schools didn't really care about public health too much, funding and other factors. And for me to go to school, I would have to take huge amount of medication, from steroids to breathing treatments, that affected the way my body looked and the way I felt about myself and my body and just even functioning. And I either took a bunch of medication or I missed a lot of school, which caused me to miss out on having a lot of friends or having teachers that understood. So it was this double-edged sword. And when I had the time in 2020, because the world shut down one way or another, I was like, you know what? I can't go back to that. I don't care what people think. I don't care what happens. I have learned, because obviously my house is my favorite place. There's no mold and mildew there. It's good. We're good there. I built up my core and I became a yoga instructor and I got really really healthy, as I mentioned on your first episode. And I was like, I love this life I'm building for myself. I can take care of myself and do yoga and fuel myself properly with nutrition. And I feel so good. This is the best I've ever felt in my 13 years of living, because at that time I was 13, which is totally insane, first of all. And I was like, I can't go back to the other option. And I started taking online classes, and I accelerated to the point where instead of going into my freshman year of high school, I went in as a senior. And I didn't need any breathing treatments either, because I got myself in such a healthy state that my core and my own health and immune system was built up so much that I was completely healthy and I could graduate high school. And I was so happy about that. Truly, it was a win.
In the preface of the book, you said that this story isn't about getting it right. It's about getting back up. And that is a metaphor for just about everything in life.
No, it's so funny because as you said that, or really as I experienced life after releasing this book, it's insane. And you can agree as an author, you can literally now, if you have these same thoughts or feelings, you just open your own book and you're like, wait, I literally wrote it here. I have to listen to myself. So today, that theme haunted me. And I was telling someone, I was like, life sucks, and that's a fact, but you have to decide what you're going to do with it. Because you can sit on the floor and be upset and say, this sucked, it hurt my feelings, I can't move on. But you can't stay there. Nothing comes from that. You have to decide, okay, yeah, this sucked and that was painful, but I'm going to turn it into something, whether that's a podcast, a book, a new project, whatever. You have to use it as fuel, because if you use it to just knock you down, you're never going to get up. And that is something I believe in. You just can't let the doubt, the fear, the whatever you're dealing with, the heartbreak, whatever you went through, stop you, because nothing comes from that. Growth and pain is how we learn how to change and create a life we want for ourselves. And if you're waiting for the moment where it doesn't hurt anymore or it's easier or whatever, it's not coming. You have to do it today, scared, sad, angry, mad, whatever you're dealing with. You have to do it now, or else you're never going to do it. And that perfect moment is never going to come.
No, I couldn't agree more.
I'm waiting for you, TED Talk. Where are you? Come on.
Oh, it's
Just
gonna
put me
come.
on that stage.
Believe me, it's gonna come. I'm a girl who battled body image, perfectionism, heartbreak, anxiety, trauma, and who still shows up messy, real, soft, and strong. That is you.
That is me. Hi.
And that is very honest. But out of that, those challenges,
Okay.
you got up. I tell people all the time, like my favorite movie is the Rocky movie. Okay. The very first one, when he gets up and Apollo looks across the ring at him, like, you're nuts. Why are you getting up? I'm killing you. And he gets up anyway, because it's a metaphor for life. Your life is a metaphor for other people to look at what you went through. That's such a young age. That's a very difficult age. No age is good to go through anything, but there's
Oh,
ages
no.
where you accept certain things, okay,
Right.
that just are constants, okay. But very tough to do that. But out of that, you said, hey, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start Take Care of Your Body by Rye. Okay, your podcast. You started to obviously get very involved in your own health. Okay, which I admire so much, because so many young people, honestly, they take their health for granted, and they don't
Until it's too
realize
late.
yeah, they don't realize it's, hey, you know what? Your body's a temple. It's not an amusement park. You certainly did that. Tell me a little bit about yoga and how yoga has helped you.
So I think it's so interesting because you've done yoga and from firsthand experience. But I feel if I were to tell some person that just knows of yoga, oh, it's that thing you do where you're breathing. And that is, yes, that's a huge part of it, but it's so much more than that. And I think finding yoga, especially when I was 14, and John, I literally did it because I was like, I am having so much anxiety with the state of the world right now and everything I'm dealing with in my life. I need something. And you know what? Why not? I have time on my hands. Let's start it. And I fell in love with it. I truly did, because yes, it helped my respiratory system, but it also helped my body feel so at peace and calm and regulated. Every time I do yoga, I don't care how stressed I was when I went into that session, I'm a whole new person. That is the moment you want to have a convo with me, because I'm so relaxed, I'm regulated, my nervous system's regulated, my thoughts are so clear. It's like a brand new person. And I think everyone that thinks yoga is just, oh, that thing where you breathe and do namaste, that is just so far from it, because it really can help you, your mind and your body, which we both know are so correlated. I recommend to everyone listening, go try yoga. Even if it sounds intimidating and scary and you're not flexible, yoga is meant for everyone. Health is individualized, and there will be a session you will resonate with. I truly recommend giving it a try because it changed my perspective on myself, the way I view others, the way I view the world, and I really think it's made me more compassionate for my body as well.
Couldn't agree more. When you graduate at 15, you don't feel like a genius. You feel like a ghost, too old for childhood. That's heavy.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that, because you're not the only one. Especially an entire generation of young people miss their prom,
Oh yeah.
miss their graduation because of COVID. Once again, nothing they did to cause that. It just kind of happened.
So it's this weird feeling where you've accomplished something big and you know that, but it's like, oh, like you're standing there and you're in the middle of it and everyone's clapping for you, but you're not clapping for yourself. And it's almost like you're sleepwalking. It's not actually happening. And it was this weird thing where I was like, wow, I just did this amazing thing. And I literally finished high school like 3 years earlier. That's incredible. And then next thing you know, the minute I started to accept that, because if you read the book, you learn I've always struggled with self-acceptance and figuring out who I was. The minute I started to accept, wait, that was really big, someone, whether it was an adult or someone in the outside world, decided to take that and think, oh, now you're in college and you're 15. You don't belong here. You don't know what you're doing. Something happened. And I was like, okay, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. And it was weird because it's like, you're thrown into the real world, but it's like you're ready to be there academically, but you don't know if you're ready to be there physically because people are around you are trying to make it so you're not. You're being told, yeah, you're smart, but you're not prepared to be here because you're not this age or you haven't accomplished this much in life. And as we mentioned actually on the podcast we just did together, age is just a number. It doesn't matter how old you are. You can be extremely intelligent and extremely emotionally intelligent. And I am one of those people. I just hate that after I finished high school, people try to put me in this box. Either you're a super genius or you didn't actually do any of the work and you're a fraud. So it was almost this weird tug of war where I was in the middle trying to figure out who I was because I had so many people saying that's amazing, so many people telling me that I shouldn't have done that because they didn't do that and that wasn't their timeline. So me doing it apparently means there's something wrong with me because this world doesn't like when people do things differently. And the older people that I knew telling me I wasn't the same age as them, so what I didn't matter.
Hmm,
So it almost felt like I was a fraud in my own accomplishment.
interesting. And you struggle with a thing. I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but is it dyscalculia, which is a learning
Oh,
challenge with math, kind of like dyslexia with mathematics?
yes, you said it completely. So I ended up getting diagnosed with that in first grade, and math was a struggle. I have never cried over some subject in school more than I have math. And it was annoying because I had teachers make me think that because I couldn't do something as simple as math, there was something wrong with me, and that I tied that to my self-worth for a while. I actually had teachers tell me I was dumb and stupid and I would never amount to anything because I couldn't do math. And growing up, unfortunately, it's hard to forget those words. It's hard, it's easier for people to say them, but it takes 5 minutes for someone to tell you that, but it takes you probably your whole lifetime to forget it. And I remember hearing that. And then every single time something bad happened or a minute where I doubted my self-worth, I just went back to that and I was like, maybe they're right. Maybe I can't do math, so I can't do this or that or whatever. And that's not the case. And for a while, it really did affect me until I realized like I just had to put two and two together and really find a way for me to understand the concepts. And online learning really helped that as well because I've always loved technology and I've always loved the digital world. And that's exactly what I needed, that space and platform to do math and understand it in the way I needed to learn it. And I also hate the education system for the way they paint math as being this thing where you're going to have to know how to do math on the top of your head in the grocery store. Because now we have calculators and all of these amazing resources at the top of our hands that help me every single day. Like I don't even have to worry about my math struggles anymore. But when I was a kid, it seemed like the biggest problem in the world until you experience worse and you're like, you know what? At least I can walk. At least I can read. At least I can live my life and this isn't isn't the end of the world. So I can't do math off the top of my head and I can't understand silly basic math concepts, but I have emotional intelligence that can impact someone and inspire someone 10 years older than me. And honestly, I'd rather pick the second option, truly. Anytime.
I,
Who likes math anyways? Come on.
nah. No,
Not you. And you're a businessman, so.
I learned math the hard way by doing it in the real world of business because I was the same way. I was like, hey, I was a journalism major. I wanted to
Right.
write. I wanted to do stuff like that. And I was like, what do I have math? I don't need that for. Hey, it didn't happen overnight, but somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I stopped trying to be the girl someone would choose and started becoming the girl I could finally come home to. This chapter isn't about a boy. It's about a slow, sacred return to me. Boy, and that is just like bueno. That is like really good stuff and so revealing about you, but so mature for somebody at such a young age to realize, hey, you know what? It's up to me. I don't need approval from other people. Talk about that though, because so many young women, especially, struggle with what does the opposite sex think of me, or what do the girls in the school think of me, and all that other nonsense. And it's such social pressure that hurts people.
No, it's upsetting to me and heartbreaking for me to hear that this generation, it's, oh, this guy didn't text me back, so now I'm having this horrible day. And I'm just like, when did we place our worth based on someone else's actions? Because you can't control other people. You can only control how you show up for yourself, but you should love yourself enough that not hearing from one person or not having this thing happen does not disturb your own peace and your own love for yourself. I truly think you can't. I love all the people in the world and I've always loved people even before I love myself. But I think for you to be secure in a relationship with someone else, you have to look in the mirror and at least like who you are. Not even love, just like who you are and accept you because before you want someone else to accept you, you have to make sure you're okay with you and also okay if they don't accept you. And I think it's upsetting the world we live in because this day and age, it's, oh, this guy didn't like me, so I don't like me anymore, or I don't matter because this person thinks this of me. And yeah, it sucks, but that's one person's opinion of you. And there are what? How many people in the world? Like 7 billion? That's one person out of 7 billion people. Probably, as I said, that someone was born. But, anyways, you have to look in the mirror and show up for that person and continue to do what nourishes your life and serves you. And yeah, you know what? I love Disney movies. They're great. Fairy tales are awesome. But I think sometimes the best fairy tale is when you choose yourself. And if someone else wants to come join, great. Let them in for the ride. And if they want to add to your life and serve you, that's beautiful. But if they don't settle for less, I truly think it's sad and heartbreaking. I have a friend and she's like, I really want a boyfriend. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's okay to want a boyfriend, but you have to make sure because you can go get a boyfriend and go on the street and pick a boy, but he could be a horrible person. And you can pick this terrible guy that you have to spend 2 years going to therapy and healing over. So it's like maybe the love will find you when you accept the love within yourself and you put love out into the world.
Wow.
That's what I believe in.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Thank you.
The queen of clean eating and the crown almost killed me. Talk about that a little bit because it seems like sometimes people like yourself, sometimes we go too far.
So it's interesting. I love how you're mentioning all the stuff that I was thinking about earlier. That's insane. That's some meant to be energy right there. So I think as people, when things, and you can agree with me, I know we've talked about addiction, different kinds, smoking or alcohol, etc. But I think when things go haywire in your life, whether you lost your job, you just got your heart broken, someone ghosted you, whatever, and you can't control that, you have to find something you can control. And for me, unfortunately, I love nutrition and I've learned the healthy way, but when so much was askew in my life and I really first got into it, I approached it in a way that was abusive and not healthy for me. I started cutting out all of these things and then realizing I am young and I want to enjoy food as well and not make it this rigid thing I have to follow every single day. Yes, I want to eat well and healthy, but that can be more balanced and not restrictive. And I realized I was using it as this addiction to control what I was putting into my body because I couldn't control what was going on around me and who was leaving and how this was going to go in my life and the outcome of this. I could only control how much I was eating and how much I exercised. And to me, that felt like a sense of security until it didn't. And then I realized this is not healthy. And I don't want to spend the rest of my life scared of something that might have touched sugar because I'm afraid a little bit of sugar is going to put me into the grave in 10 years. Or I don't want to miss out on an event with the best friend because there's going to be food there that I might not eat all the time, but I do want to enjoy a little bit of. I don't want to have anxiety around food. And when I realized that, I was like, yeah, I really need to work on this mindset. And then I finally shifted and became healthier, thank God. It's one of those addictions we don't often talk about or really think about, but I think anything in life can be an addiction. And when you realize that even too much of a good thing can be a bad thing.
Been there.
I we all have, right? Never taken away my coffee addiction, though. That one, I need that one. That's how I do all this
Okay.
stuff. You didn't ask me how I'm an entrepreneur at 18. That's coffee. This episode was sponsored by Starbucks, actually.
Okay. 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 That's a good. That's a good sponsor.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can be the light in every room and still feel like a ghost in your own.
I know that one hit you.
Woo. Yeah.
I think, again, it goes back to people can say, oh my gosh, you changed my life. And I've gotten these messages. This episode of your podcast made me feel so seen, and you're an amazing person. And thank you for doing what you're doing. You're a ray of light in the world. But it's hard for that to register if you look at yourself and you don't see that same reflection. And it really goes back to having to heal the person in the mirror and looking in the mirror and saying, yes, I messed up. Yes, I haven't been a perfect daughter, friend, best friend, girlfriend, whatever, whoever I am that day or that moment, whatever's going on. But starting today, I am going to continue to work on becoming the best version of me. And I accept myself for my flaws and my strengths and all that there is to me. And then you realize, okay, yeah, now I'm going to believe what these amazing people on the internet or on the street or in this coffee shop are saying about me. But you have to have that point of self-love that you're like, I can believe that. So I think when you're not in that space where you're like, okay, you're just like, yeah, they're lying. They have to say that. It's you feel like a ghost because when you're hearing all of that, it's like, yeah, but then I go home and I don't like who I am. So why do you?
It's yeah. Exactly. It's amazing that you say that because I've felt that at different times where people are praising me in my career. And like when I was single, didn't have a family, I was like, yeah, and I go home by myself.
Right.
I've got
And
this downline of 1 million people. I do all these sales. I make all of this money and I go home by myself. And I didn't have a dog even in those days because I travel so much. And it's
right.
you lose something of yourself when you don't have other people involved in your life. But let's stay honest. Let's wrap up show one here. On page 76, you talk about for as long as I can remember, my body was a battlefield. Chronic asthma, steroids that distorted my reflection, mold in the walls of my childhood school is literally poisoning me while I was trying to recite multiplication tables, hospital visits that blurred into missed assignments, pneumonia many times. You missed the girlhood stuff. I mean, the normal kid stuff that other girls, other young boys were probably doing. You missed all of that. Do you resent that? Or have you just said, hey, it is what it is. It got me to where I am. How have you handled some of the things maybe that you may feel like you missed? And justifiably so, by the way. And now I'm
Well,
talking as a dad. Yeah, I was mad my kids couldn't go to proms because of this stupid COVID
COVID.
nonsense.
And thank you for saying that. And, you know, for a while, it's wow, that really sucked. And in the moment, it did, especially when I was younger. But I think some of the best lessons come out of the hardest things we have to experience. And I'm really grateful for every single step of my journey, even though I don't think the same way I did when I was 7 years old. I'm grateful for everything because I truly believe if one thing changes, everything else along the road does. And I don't think I would be here without the struggle and the pain. I think I started this podcast really because of what I went through as a child and what I'm still experiencing with my body as a young adolescent. And I think that is why I'm so empathetic and I'm so understanding of the world and the people around me. And like I even said in the book, If someone won't let you sit at their table, you have to build your own. And that's what I've done for the last 18 years of my life. I've been told, even with this book, oh, I'm not going to publish you. Okay, I'll start my own publishing company. And I think a lot of who I am today comes from who I was and the young girl I was and what I learned by being told no and being told you can't and being told you're too sick, you're too this or that. And I'm really grateful for that. So, yeah, it sucked. And yeah, I had to process it and grieve it. Even though it sucked, I think I'm more grateful for it than anything because I wouldn't be here without this path.
You started your own tea party.
I didn't I?
Yeah. Sometimes you have to, right?
I think you have to because it's like in life, we think people are going to hand us stuff, and it doesn't really work out that way. We all get by from a little help from our friends, like the Beatles said, but you have to really put in the work yourself and get started because no one is going to take the pen and write the book for you.
I love it. I love it. Hey, let's wrap up this for part one because we got part two still to do. So, folks, come back next week and you'll hear part two.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check back weekly for more exciting episodes. And don't miss Ink and Insight every Wednesday, where we celebrate iconic authors and dive into their impactful works.